Hey guys, so one of the most commonly asked questions that I get, and I'm talking a lot of emails every week, is does women's Rogaine actually work? There are a lot of other factors at play that you guys need to look into to figure out the best plan of attack to regrow your own hair. And today I'm gonna take you through my own journey and what I did to figure out, exactly how to make my hair as thick and full as possible. Let's jump right in. The first thing I did when I started noticing that my hair was getting thinner a few years ago is I went to my doctor. When it comes down to it, it's really about your insides and what's going on internally that's going to affect your outsides. So I went to a trichologist in Beverly Hills and he said, you know what, first things first, we have to do some blood work. I went and got blood work done and I found out that I am slightly low in iron. After finding out that I had an iron deficiency, I realized that it was something, or at least part of my issue was internally. Once I figured that out, I figured out what's going on my inside, I was then able to figure out the next step. Step one, go to the doctor, figure out if it's an internal issue. Staying on the inside, another factor, the big one actually, is hereditary hair loss. One thing I did not know, but that a doctor told me, is that hereditary hair loss can actually come from either side of your family, which means, ladies, you can get baldness from your dad. Guess whose dad is bald? He's been bald pretty much for my entire life, and I always just assumed that because I'm a woman that I can only get that from my mom's side of the family. Not the case. Now let's talk about the outside. First things first, and this seems actually so simple it's kind of dumb, but if your scalp isn't healthy, your hair can't grow through it. And I don't think I realized that for a while. If your scalp is, if you have dandruff or any kind of skin issue going on in your scalp, your hair follicle can't actually grow through your skin and nothing will happen. So making sure that your scalp is healthy is number one. There's tons of scalp scrubs and cleansers. Even using a purifying or clarifying shampoo is also really helpful. Just making sure that the hair has room to actually grow through your skin is number one. After that, make sure that you're not using too much heat on your hair. I know that's hard. I have wavy, frizzy hair myself, so I blow dry, I flat iron, I curl, I get it. But just making sure that you're minimizing that. Maybe take 2 days off a week. Maybe try something else. Just try to minimize the heat as much as possible. And lastly, when your hair is wet, it's its most fragile and it will break the easiest. When your hair is wet, you should only be brushing it with a wet brush or a wide tooth comb. If your hair's wet and you're putting it up in a top knot, or if you're putting it in a tight ponytail, you're gonna damage your hair. Just be super, super gentle when your hair is wet, and then you'll be good to go. And lastly, while you're probably here, does women's Rogaine actually work? Well, the answer is yes. A few things. Number one, it's got 5% minoxidil, which is a very high amount of hair regrowth chemical in it. Number two, I personally love the convenience factor. I don't do well when I have a lot of rules. If somebody's like, you have to use it 20 times a day and it has to be in the morning and night, I'm not gonna follow those rules. The easiest thing about women's Rogaine foam is that it's convenient, right? You can use it in the morning, you can use it at night, you can use it on damp hair, you can use it on dry hair. It's all about what works for you and how you can make it work in your schedule. If it's too complicated, you're not gonna do it. You're just like me. Most people are not compliant, as they call it in technical terms. The only rule is you have to use it once a day. And other than that, you can work around your schedule. So I think that's really why most people have a lot of success with using women's Rogaine. Another trick that I have is keeping it out in front of you. So if you know that every day you're gonna reach for hairspray or even your toothpaste or your daily moisturizer with SPF, put the women's Rogaine foam next to that product so that it's in your face and you're seeing it every day. I started doing that with my daily vitamins, with my iron supplements, because I kept forgetting to take them. So I finally just put them in front of my toothbrush because obviously I'm brushing my teeth every day. And I think once you get in the habit, then you can put it somewhere else and you actually do remember. But you have to get into that habit of actually using it every day. And lastly, why I think I've had a ton of success is the fact that it doesn't interfere with other styling products. I don't like to use too much because, again, I like to keep my scalp clear and healthy and free from debris, but I do use, a thermal protector. Occasionally I'll put in a texturizing spray or whatever I'm doing, and the women's Rogaine foam does not interfere with that in any way. So it really is the most convenient regrowth product I've ever used. It's flexible based on your schedule, and, around 3 or 4 months, 5 months later, you're gonna start seeing that hair regrowth and you're gonna like, why didn't I do this like a year ago? Trust me. My hair journey began, like I said, by going to the doctor and dealing with all the internal and then the external stuff. Granted, I just wanna give a little caveat that I did start my women's Rogaine journey a few years ago, which is why my hair looks like this the way it does now. It's a long process. I mean, it takes several months to see hair regrowth, so you do have to be patient. My best advice to you is really just take that patience and embrace it. Just try to see the end goal. I know the first few months can be really difficult, especially if you do experience shedding, which if you're not familiar, sometimes when people first use the product, your hair will actually fall out a little bit. That can be very discouraging, but just you have to keep going. You have to trust that it's gonna work. If you're using it once a day, like I said, doesn't matter the time, as long as you're using it once a day and you have hereditary hair loss, you will see results. You just have to be patient, and then you'll have hair like this. When I went to my doctor and he actually said to me, you should be using women's Rogaine, I was really surprised. My hair was just so damaged. It was so short. I had breakage. I had, like balding patches here and here. I was willing to try anything. And I think if you just, like I said, trust in the system, just stay compliant, use it every day, I know that you will see happy results like I did. So that is my hair loss / hair regrowth story with women's Rogaine. I'd love to hear your own personal hair loss journeys. I'm happy to answer questions if you want to comment below, or even if you want to email me. I get that it can be a little bit sensitive, but let's try to beat the stigma here. I really think it's something we should all be talking about. It's a very common issue with women. So let's keep the dialogue open, and thank you guys so much for watching.